YouTube, Rook here from Rook Geek Goodness, my little channel web for all things geeky and cool. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Welcome back to the action figure unboxing video. Now, I've been dying to do a full review of this particular character. I received him during the holiday season from my wife as a gift, but I haven't had a chance to even take him out of the package yet to really even look at him, but I want to save that for you, the viewers and subscribers. If you're someone who's returned to my channel, then thank you very much for returning to my content. If you're someone new, stumbled across my videos for the very first time, thank you very much. Please smash that subscribe button at the bottom of the page and click the like button. That will very much help my channel grow, and send this video across the YouTube platform so if anybody else is looking for this sort of content can find it and watch these sort of unboxing videos. So what are we talking about in this video? We're talking Batman. More importantly, Batman from -32, part of the Dark Knight Metal series, a part of the Mcfarlane Toys release in the 7-inch scale. Now, you may not know anything about this character. I'll kind of get you guys caught up to speed with it. This character was created in 2017 by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo as a worldwide kind of release of DC books known as the Dark Knight Metal series. It was basically a bunch of books. It was a mini-series, and they had one-shot books through all the DC titles for that particular year and going into 2018. So it went from 2017 and 2018. This particular character known as DawnBreaker Batman. That's the idea. He's still Bruce Wayne, but for a different alternate universe. The idea is you had basically Bruce Wayne taking the portfolio or the power set of a different Justice League member, or a twist to that idea, if you will. This one is based on Bruce Wayne merging with Green Lantern, as in the Green Lantern Power Ring. The origin story is very similar to the Bruce Wayne origin stories we know from our current continuity. His parents were killed in Crime Alley when he was a little kid, but in this retelling of the story, a power ring, a Green Lantern power ring, was flying across Gotham City. He basically called the ring down to him with his willpower. It came onto his finger, and he killed and smited Joe Chill, the killer of Bruce Wayne's parents from the current continuity. Now, what you might find odd in this whole big thing is that the Green Lantern Power Ring does not allow you to do what they call lethal force, unless you have authorization from the Guardians of Oa, the Green Lantern Guardians, that will allow you to have lethal force. Normally, you can't do this. The ring, he basically hacked the ring to allow him to do this because his willpower is so high for Bruce Wayne that he was able to basically corrupt the ring into these what they call dark constructs. He was able to basically absorb light into himself and project these dark, sort of very, very deep blackish green constructs into his will. That was the idea of what this ring can do. It didn't work like a normal power ring. He basically killed the entire Batman rogue gallery and even Commissioner Gordon. And it's a very dark story, but a very cool story nonetheless. And what we do is a full unboxing of this particular figure. We'll look at the packaging as a whole. We'll look at the paint, articulation, and accessories, because we do have a couple accessories on this particular figure, and conclude in final thoughts for you, the viewer, should you spend the money and pick up Batman -32, part of the Mcfarlane Toys DawnBreaker in the 7-inch scale. Stay tuned, guys. We're going to a breakdown. Alright, guys, we're in a breakdown segment looking at the Mcfarlane Toys DC Multiverse 7-inch scale Batman Earth -32, aka DawnBreaker, part of the Dark Knight Metal series. And the very first thing we do in a breakdown segment is look at the packaging and presentation. This is your typical window box display that basically McFarlane uses for all the McFarlane Toys for DC Multiverse. This is my second, count it, #2 figure I've ever actually opened and unboxed. The very first one is on my channel. You take a look at my playlist. That was from the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse John Stewart Green Lantern, part of the Justice League Unlimited series action figure. Pretty cool figure, very, very stylized, issue with the legs, but that's a different review. First, we're looking at this particular character now, and he looks really, really good. Love the way he looks. Let's break down the packaging right here. At the top, we have 22 points of articulation. Over here, you have the McFarlane Toys logo. Great window box display of the DawnBreaker character. Over here, we have DC Multiverse right here. It does say Batman from -32. It doesn't say anything about DawnBreaker, but that's the character's name. We'll talk more about that shortly. He has basically a few accessories. He has this sort of construct here of bats, and it looks like an octopus tendril. This sort of deep green concept, which I was talking about at the beginning of the video. Behind him, there is a flight stand right here. It might be hard to notice. It is a bit clear, might come off weird on camera, but it's right behind that construct. It looks pretty cool. The flight stand hooks to his leg and not across his waist like I would normally see it connected to. I watched a few videos of this character being unboxed. I didn't know the flight stands even hook to legs because I don't have many of them, so it's a little bit different. I'll have to get used to that when we get them out of packaging. Over here we have the Batman from Earth -32, part of the Dark Knight Metal series. Over here we have, of course, DC Multiverse. It does say Batman Earth -32. Yeah, right there. Again, we have the Mcfarlane Toys coming down on that side right there. The back of the packaging is they lifted the shot straight off of DawnBreaker #1's comic. This is what the cover of DawnBreaker #1 looked like. So with that being said, guys, let's get them out of packaging and to the breakdown segment. Alright guys, we have our DawnBreaker Batman out of packaging. The next thing we do to take a figure out of packaging is look at the paint and articulation. First things first, let's take a look at that head sculpt because it looks absolutely amazing. Mcfarlane Toys did a bang up job on that head sculpt. It looks really, really cool. Because he got kind of corrupted by the Green Lantern power ring for his power set, he kind of got this necrotic look on his face. His face is sort of in this weird grin. That's by design. It's how the character sort of evolved in the comics. I love the attention to detail on this figure. The paint and deco look amazing. This sort of shimmering, sort of metallic green paint on the top of the chest piece. The sort of almost glow-in-the-dark Green Lantern symbol right here looks really, really cool. The black sort of wash the entire figure, the black costume with the green highlights and the multiple green colors. The gray sort of utility belt that we have going down the waist of the character looks really, really good. All in all, the color schemes, the design of this figure looks really, really good. I love the way this guy looks. Looks amazing. Blows out of the water the John Stewart figure from the first wave of Green Lantern figures. Actually, for Mcfarlane Toys, rather. That very first figure for Green Lantern was horrible in retrospect compared to this figure. This figure has true articulation and paint and design. Looks really, really good. Love the way this character looks. I have to go back to that head sculpt. It looks so, so good. The way the cowl looks with the glasses looks really good. That piping that connects to the cowl right here to the back of his sort of back of his armor looks really, really good. One thing I didn't point out, the Green Lantern symbol is sort of sticking on top of the Batman logo, the bat symbol also. So you have both symbols sort of compressed on top of one another. It looks really, really good. And the bottom of the feet, again, same paint, same deco color going through the bottom of the character's legs. The sort of shimmery green look looks really, really good. Now let's talk about articulation. That's what a lot of people sort of make or break figures. The articulation is spot on with this figure with only really one point of hindering articulation, and that's the pipes we talked about before. The biggest issue is the articulation. The head will not spin 360 because it gets hindered by these pipes. You have up and down a little bit, but you can't go more than about that far because, again, these are hooked in from the side of where his ears are basically to across his back and sort of linked into the sculpt right there. That's about the most articulation you have as far as the head goes. But that doesn't really stop the rest of this figure. You can get him out to a full T as you see right here. The spinning of the arms are good. He gets a little bit clipped by the shoulder pads on both arms. That's the only real hindrance right there. He does have a bicep cut, double jointed articulation here, so you can get a really tight arm movement right here. This is how he was packaged in the packaging. His arm was like set up like this, was super, super tight and linked in. The hands will spin 360. There is no swivel cut here. You can't spin this arm 360 this way in this orientation. You only have the double jointed here. You can spin it from the bicep here 360 though. So this is a 360 here. You can't 360 this portion. So 360 here, no 360, no right here on the forearm. You can't go anything more than that. The only thing here is they didn't give you any real paint on the power ring. Is there's a splotch right there where a power ring would be. That to me is kind of being lazy. They should have given you at least a little more deco right there. That to me is a kind of a misstep, but all things considered, it's pretty good. Now let's focus on that chest because there's a lot going on with the chest here. He's on his sort of rolling rocker as you see me moving it around right here. There's a lot of articulation right here. I'll put him back on my stand here because you can get him back about that far, and you can move him forward about that far. There's a lot of articulation here. It feels like a double crunch here. I think there's something that's called a butterfly joint. So you got like one here, boom, boom. So you got a lot of movement up right here in the chest area. I like the way that looks. Going down to the bottom of the figure, you can get him in a decent kick position, about that far forward, about that far kind of back. There is no swivel right here on the thigh cut through the groin area from what I'm seeing. And I'm okay with that. I don't really have a problem with that. So I mean, that's a pretty good range of motion right there for a modern day figure. There is a double jointed knee here. I'll show you the double pins right there. You can pull the leg back really far. You almost can kick himself in the back right here. That's a huge amount of articulation. They put the leg back down. There is no swivel on this cut here. However, there's swivel on the feet. You can see me swiveling it here. And there's a toe cut right here. So it's a huge amount of articulation, way more than the Green Lantern John Stewart figure we saw before. A silly amount more articulation, comparatively speaking, night and day, kind of pun intended, between the Green Lantern John Stewart and this DawnBreaker figure. Now let's take a look at the first of 3 accessories. We'll take a look at the little kind of the data file card. That is from, of course, I mentioned before, DawnBreaker #1, the comic. Here's the back of the data card. The only mention at the very bottom over here, he mentioned briefly about the name DawnBreaker. That's his code name. So that's the only time they really mentioned DawnBreaker at all. Again, he debuted, it says it right over here, 2017, comics 2017 right there. Yep, so I was correct on my date. I did my research before just to make sure, because I read that comic back in 2017. It was a good read back then. Loved the way it looked. I'm surprised it was 3 years ago, but it's a pretty cool book. As I mentioned, if you're interested in Bruce Wayne becoming Green Lantern in this sort of this alternate universe, it's really, really cool. And there's no real way to attach this card to the character or the flight stand, which we'll talk about that shortly. His second accessory is this really cool bat/octopus construct. You can see the detail in the deco right there. I'll come a little closer so you can see it. It sort of have like little suckers on the side here, and there's one little bat here, one bat here, and this big bat coming straight at the camera right now. It is sort of this kind of darker green, transparent material as plastic. Looks really, really cool. To get him on his arm, on DawnBreaker's arm, it's really designed for the right hand, not the left. It's really weird how you have to do it, because you push the arm through this kind of hole, and it doesn't peg into place. It sort of just wraps around, and to me that feels a bit clunky. Alright guys, this kind of looks something like that. When you put it on, you kind of twist it. You got to spin the construct around his arm to get him into this sort of orientation. That's kind of the best kind of pose I see for him. But it looks really, really, really cool. I love the way it looks here. Looks really, really neat. I love the attention to detail. The bat flying this way, the bat flying down the center, and this little one in the corner right over here, as you can see it right there. Looks really, really good. I'll kind of put it right here so you can see what it looks like again a little further back. But it looks really, really cool. I love the attention to detail that Mcfarlane Toys did for that construct. Looks really, really cool. Again, great shot of it. I'll put in some B-roll shots so you can kind of see what he looks like here. An up-close shot of that construct. Looks really, really good. Again, awesome in the sense of detail. Pretty cool. And the last accessory is, of course, I mentioned before, a flight stand. And the flight stand is a bit sketchy, to say the least. I'm not super familiar how flight stands work. All the videos I'm seeing how this flight stand kind of works for DawnBreaker, he basically, you have your flight stand down like this, and you literally put it through his leg like this. Every single time I've tried this so far, I've kind of failed. It doesn't really fit super well. I'll put him off my turntable here so you can kind of see what it would look like. Alright guys, we have DawnBreaker sitting on his flight stand. I did a little bit of research. It's about the best sort of pose you can do in the flight stand. You can maybe do a little more action pose, but I have him with the cool construct right there. I had to pull the camera back a little further to get him in shot. Looks really, really good. There is a peg point on the flight stand itself, so if you don't want to hook the flight stand up, you can detach it and just use it as a physical stand itself. But he looks really, really good. I'm happy with this figure. The attention to detail, the deco, the paint, the the sculpt, the design, the accessory. Yes, it's a bit clunky, wrapping it and spinning around the arm is a bit weird, but all in all, it looks really, really cool. I'm really happy with this figure. With that being said, let's go to final thoughts and wrap up this video. Alright guys, final thoughts on the DawnBreaker DC Multiverse McFarlane Toys 7-inch scale figure. Love this figure. Heads and tails way, way better than the Green Lantern figure for John Stewart we saw in the very first release of the DC Multi-figures. This figure beats up that character and takes his lunch money, as far as I'm concerned. This is a hell of a figure, night and day better, again, pun intended, over that Green Lantern figure. Loads of articulation. Again, the only real big problems I had, a couple points here. One, the 7-inch scale. I'm not used to that scale. I'm used to the Black Series figures from Star Wars. I'm used to Marvel Legends. I'm used to the old DC Multiverse that Mattel put out. I'm used to a smaller 6-inch scale. I'm not really sold yet on the 7-inch scale. I mentioned it with that Green Lantern video with John Stewart. I'm not a big fan of this scale, but it's kind of growing on me. If McFarlane keeps putting out details and design and sculpts like this, I'll be happy. I'm not really mad about any parts of the articulation. Again, the head sculpt where you can't spin the head 360 because of those wires that are connected to the side of his ears and his back. That's by design, folks. That's the way the character was looking and designed with DC. The weird, of course, back construct, you had to twist it around his arm to get it in place. It's a bit clunky. I wish I could have had some kind of peg point where you could lock it in place. This is best I can really find the way it looks. You have to spin it around the arm. You got to twist it to get it into this position that you see right here. The flight stand, again, a bit clunky. You put it around his leg. It doesn't feel like it's gripping super securely. It's okay the way it's situated here. And of course, the little data card, we talked about it before in the breakdown. There's no real way to place it except to something like this. You can kind of lean it against the stand. It's about the best you can get. And that's the DawnBreaker DC Multiverse McFarlane Toys in the 7-inch scale. I hope you liked this video review. Definitely click the like button on the bottom page. Click the subscribe button. When you subscribe to the channel, click the bell to be notified of my latest videos. And of course, last but not least, you can click windows over here to watch more of my content. Take care, guys. See you next video. And bye-bye.